What kind, boy?
You river messy balls. Craziest assassination attempts on musicians. And we got Pac and Biggie straight away, boy. Two legends, two goats. R.I.P. boy. R.I.P. bruh. Come on.
An assassination is the murdering of someone who is usually fairly famous by sudden or secret attack, sometimes for political reasons. Tragically, a lot of famous musicians have been assassinated, albeit not always for political reasons, but for crazy reasons nonetheless. Tupac and Biggie for reasons that vary depending on who you ask. XXXTentacion in a robbery. Dimebag Darrell for unknown reasons. Or John Lennon for religious and personal reasons.
R.I.P. X as well, boy. I got the tabs. I got his fucking Damn. I need to. Can't even see that shit. Fuck it, bro. I need to get used to this YouTube shit again, bro.
An assassination is the murdering of someone who is usually fairly famous by sudden or secret attack, sometimes for political reasons. Tragically, a lot of famous musicians have been assassinated, albeit not always for political reasons, but for crazy reasons nonetheless. Tupac and Biggie for reasons that vary depending on who you ask. XXXTentacion in a robbery. Dimebag Darrell for unknown reasons. Or John Lennon for religious and personal reasons. Assassinations in the music industry are always tragic, especially for fans of those artists. But believe it or not, there's actually a lot of musicians who are the victims of attempted assassinations. Whether it be the CIA, allegedly, trying to assassinate Bob Marley, or a crazed
What the fuck the CIA got going on with Bob Marley, bruh?
fan trying to castrate Justin Bieber. There have
Yo, Justin went through so much of shit throughout his life, bro. Being a child star and shit, bro. Shout out to Justin for not getting fucked up with all of this other shit, bro. Like, they must see the Justin our life,
been
boy.
a lot of crazy and surprising assassination attempts on famous musicians. So today we're going to look into some, starting off with Bob Marley. Also, really quick, just wanted to say, I think by the time this video comes out, I should have hit 500k. So I just wanted to say thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
Damn, that's crazy. You know, I was watching this video, this whole video since he was on like 68, you know, like fucking 40k, boy. You know what I'm saying? He came up, boy.
Love and support. I mean, I've been doing this full time for like 3 years, so I really do appreciate it. Big love emoji to you guys. Also, I've kind of covered, like, I feel like pretty much every music topic. I don't know, I feel like I've hit a lot of them, so I'm thinking of maybe branching out a little, but I'm not sure exactly to what. So maybe just let me know in the comments below what you guys want to see. Don't worry, I'm not going to stop doing music stuff. Like, all of my ideas are music related. That's my main interest. But if there's any other lane or topic you guys want to see, maybe let me know in the comments.
Motherfucker would, I could see that working a whole lot.
And I'll consider doing it. But yeah, with that being said, I want to crush the new year, so let me know in the comments what you guys are feeling, and yeah, let's get along with the video. In 1976, Bob Marley had really just started experiencing his peak, touring around the world and making a pretty big name for himself in the music industry. But it wasn't just music, since a lot of his songs actually addressed oppression, so he also became somewhat of a political figure as well. At this point, his band Bob and the Wailers had already released majorly successful projects such as Burnin', Natty Dread, and Rastaman Vibration. As you can tell by his music, these albums had hit songs like Get Up, Stand Up, I Shot the Sheriff, No Woman, No Cry, and War, to name a few. As you can tell by his music and overall vibe, Bob's
Hold on. I'll be back.
Jamaican ancestry and culture was very important to him, inspiring much of his iconic music. And at this time, there was quite a bit of political tension in
Was Bob Marley the motherfucker that war anti-apartheid or some shit? Shout out Bob Marley, bro. I think it was.
in his country. So in an attempt to be the change he wanted to see, Bob Marley announced that he would be performing at the Smile Jamaica concert in '76. As things turned out, in a sad and ironic twist, a big part of the concert being put on was aimed at countering political violence. Political conflict was already heavy in Jamaica. However, since a general election was due in early 1977, things started to heat up, mainly between the supporters of the current administration, the Democratic Socialist People's National Party, or the PNP, and the pro-US opposition, the Jamaica Labour Party, or JLP. Leading up to the election, tensions got so high that at one point in June, the government had declared a state of emergency, which was a big motivator for Jamaica's Ministry of Culture at the time to plan a free concert to bring people together and try to diffuse the tension, notably asking the star Bob Marley to perform. Bob was obviously sympathetic to the cause out of love for his homeland, but he also insisted on a bunch of conditions to try to reduce the link to the PNP. He declared himself politically neutral, and some of his songs had even been banned by the government.
Damn, did the audio change for me or was that in the video? Was I fucking using shit audio or some shit, bro?
Regardless, though, the JLP now saw this as an endorsement of the PNP, especially since the current PNP Prime Minister decided to move general elections up within just 10 days of the concert. However, before Bob could even perform, on December 5th at 8:30 p.m., just 2 days before the concert, things took a very dark turn. While Bob and his band were on a break from a rehearsal, 7 gunmen raided his house, shooting his wife Rita in the head in her car in the driveway. After this, the men entered his home, shooting him twice, once in the chest and once in the arm. They also targeted his manager, hitting him in the legs and torso, as well as one of the band's employees who was also hit in the torso. But by some miracle, there was 0 fatalities. Even his wife, who was shot in the head, made a recovery. Despite the shooting, though, Bob still said that he would perform at least one
shots in the head, bruh. Nah, that's like God watching over you, bruh. Being shots in the head and still surviving, bruh. That's like
song at Smile Jamaica, the track appropriately being his song called War. Instead of just one song, though, because of the energy that was in the air at the concert, Bob and the Wailers went on to play a 90-minute set for the 80,000 people in attendance, even with an injured arm which prevented him from playing.
That's a show that you put like all your struggle into the music. That's like, I guarantee you that was like his therapy, bruh, for that night, bruh. That's like a whole fucking movie, except performing that shit. He put everything into that.
The guitar. And at one point, he rolled up his sleeve to show the crowd his wound, saying, "Bang, bang, I'm okay." In an even crazier twist, even Rita came out to perform in the hospital gown because she had just got discharged like 2 hours earlier. Overall, there was reportedly over 200 people on stage.
That's some lit. My good kid Master T poster keep fucking coming out, bruh. Fuck it. And my fucking 50 cent, my 50 cent shit is going through, bruh. I don't know where that shit went, bruh. Like, everything just falling apart here, bruh.
In part allegedly also providing a human shield for him. Regardless, though, following the concert, the PNP won the election and Bob Marley self-exiled himself to London for around 16 months, which inspired him to create his next extremely successful album, Exodus. And around 2 years later, he finally returned to Jamaica for the One Love Peace concert, at which he famously brought PNP's Manly and JLP's Siaga on stage for an awkward embrace.
The atmosphere buzzed with energy as Marley took to the stage shortly after midnight. He performed some of his greatest hits, including Jamming, but it was during this song that he made a pivotal gesture, inviting both Manly and Siaga onto the stage. Marley clasped their hands together in a...
I don't know too much about Jamaica's like history and shit, but at least like who are these like random white people? I won't lie. Where the fuck did they come from? Did they run some shit or something, bruh?
Powerful
political leaders together. So like 2 parties. Damn, why this shit remind me of a party, bruh? I mean, like, you know what I'm saying?
Symbol of unity.
But you're probably wondering, who would try to kill Bob Marley? Aside from the obvious political reasons, who do we think was behind it? Well, in a Bob Marley biography by American rock music journalist Timothy White, he wrote that information he received from Jamaican as well as U.S. law enforcement officials led him to believe that a JLP gunman was contracted by the CIA to organize the shooting, allegedly leveraging a local gang called the Shower Posse who was somewhat loyal to the JLP to carry out the murder. And there is also other theories saying that like the PNP set him up to be a martyr, sort of like what has happened recently with Charlie Kirk. And while the shooters were never officially caught or put through trial, Bob's manager has said that both he and Bob were present for the street justice that ensued, which allegedly was a makeshift court where some of the shooters apparently confessed and even admitted a CIA link and then were executed. Regardless, there's a lot of conspiracy theories about what actually happened, and we don't...
Isn't like the CIA American? What the fuck the CIA got going on in Jamaica, bro? Like, why these American motherfuckers always are to like get involved with other countries, bro? You run your own shit, bro.
I don't know for sure.
Focus on yourself, don't worry about us.
What the motive is?
Or them. You know what I'm saying?
But I wouldn't put it past the US government to try to take out a major social opponent in their big old fight against communism. I mean, they used to send letters to MLK telling him to take his own life, so wouldn't be too surprising. And while Bob Marley was targeted for political reasons, I think 50 Cent just pissed off the wrong people. 50 Cent first started getting some major popularity when he dropped his song How to Rob. In this legendary comedic diss track, 50 goes at a long list of other artists, undeniably punching up at some names that were way beyond his fame
I snatched him
at the time.
Tell Puff you want to see her again. Damn. I'm about to stick Bobby for some of that Whitney money. Brian McKnight, I can get a nigga anytime. Having Keith Sweat seen staring down the battle of my nine.
Some of which included Diddy, Jay-Z, Will Smith, DMX, R. Kelly, and even Mike Tyson. Well, most of the disses were never meant to be taken too seriously. Obviously, some people took offense to his bars, especially since the majority of the song was talking about how he would hypothetically rob or mug each person mentioned. When asked why he made the reckless move to make this song, 50 said, "There's 100 artists on that label. You gotta separate yourself from that group and make yourself relevant." And relevant it did make 50, since it got the attention of rappers like Jay-Z, Corrupt, Sticky Fingers, Big Pun, the Wu-Tang.
What? Of all the names you choose, your rap name, you can choose that shit, bro. You choose Sticky Fingers. Come on, bro. Let's be real.
Clan, and more, who all responded to the track. But not all of the attention was bad, since even Nas invited him on his tour. Nas said, "The way you came out with that record, it felt like when I came out with Illmatic," which is probably one of the best comparisons an up-and-coming rapper can get. However, while everything was looking up for 50, things were about to change dramatically. On May 24th of 2000, 50 was attacked by a gunman outside his grandmother's former home in New York City. After getting into a friend's car, he was asked to return to the house and get some jewelry. So when 50 got back into the car, another vehicle pulled up. When this car stopped, a man got out, walked up.
When I'm looking that way, I'm blowing out the smoke because I don't want to fucking, like, you know what I'm saying, like, stink the shit.
50's car and proceeded to fire 9 shots at close range with a 9mm handgun. 50 was hit in the hand, arm, hip, both legs, his chest, and his left cheek. As a result of his facial wound, 50 suffered a swollen tongue, the loss of a wisdom.
That made him rap the friend isn't. Like, he changed up his whole voice and shit.
Tooth and a slightly slurred voice. His friend was also wounded in the hand as well. They were both quickly rushed to the hospital, where 50 spent 13 days recovering. And just 3 weeks later, the alleged shooter, Daryl Homicide Bohm, who was Mike Tyson's close friend and bodyguard, was found and killed in revenge. 50 recalled the shooting, saying, "It happened so fast that you don't even get a chance to shoot back. I was scared the whole time. I was looking in the rearview mirror like, oh shit, somebody shot me in the face. It burns." Aside from the earlier mentioned damage to his mouth, 50 was forced to use a walker for 6 weeks and fully recovered after 5 months. While in the hospital, 50 signed a publishing deal with Columbia Records before he was dropped from the label and blacklisted by the recording industry. In this case, it might not be much of—
For what? I just got shot 9 times and then you blacklisting me for what? What the fuck did I do?
a why someone tried to kill 50, but more of a who. Specifically since he just went at pretty much every big name in the industry on how to rob. However, shockingly to a lot of fans, it wasn't necessarily connected to that song. Instead, it was his other highly controversial song, Ghetto Quran, which was leaked in early 2000. The song mentions drug dealers from the 1980s in his neighborhood of South Jamaica, Queens, and it was called one of the most controversial records ever laid on wax. I guess it turns out that naming a bunch of sketchy real-life characters from your formative years isn't the best idea, especially when it came to Kenneth McGriff and his nephew Gerald Prince Miller of the 80s drug gang's Supreme Team. And these guys weren't just some small drug dealers. Kenneth was a full-blown drug lord running an operation which boasted more than $200,000 daily sold worth of crack cocaine at its peak in 1987. So when 50 mentioned him on his song Ghetto Quran, he decided to retaliate by sending one of his goons. In an investigation by the IRS, they even linked the murder of Run DMC's Jam Master Jay amongst others with 50's issues with Kenneth McGriff and his associates. Years later, after a few run-ins with the law, Kenneth was finally connected to multiple other murders and his incident with 50. As a result, he was eventually convicted of murder for hire as well as a bunch of other things and is now serving a life sentence. But these aren't the only issues that Ghetto Quran caused 50. It also somewhat led to a basis for his future beefs with Ja.
That's a fucking crazy name though. I won't lie. Ghetto Quran. The title is crazy by itself.
Rule, Irv Gotti, and the Murder Inc. music group because of their connections with Kenneth.
Actually, it's not that crazy, bro. It's like Ghetto Bible, like the word of the streets.
So while 50 did
that's a bar.
End up eventually reviving his career after being shot and being temporarily blacklisted in the US, it definitely came at quite the cost. And 50 Cent explicitly upset other people. But Justin Bieber just had a psycho fan that wanted to castrate him. I don't know about you guys, but to me, Justin Bieber hate has always been a big thing. Especially when he was a kid for some reason. And I think maybe for like when I was a kid too, it was because like people my age were jealous. I don't know what the adults were on, but that's what us kids were on. But the hate train was taken to a completely different level when a New Mexico inmate, an ex-convict on probation, and his nephew plotted to castrate and murder the then around 18-year-old Justin Bieber. In a statement given by police, their plan involved
like, what are you doing with your life? Say, like on some real shit, your mission is to castrate another man, boy. Like, Lock the fucking exit.
targeting Justin and his bodyguard in New York City, with their motive coming from the inmate's quest for notoriety and his infatuation with Bieber. Apparently, the inmate who was serving 2 life sentences for a rape and murder of a 15-year-old girl in Vermont has a
So this Daryl just doesn't deserve to be alive, bro. So that's what you're just telling me there. What the fuck did I just say,
tattoo
bro?
of Bieber on his leg and attempted to correspond with Bieber, who never responded. Apparently, he took the lack of a response from Justin as some sort of aggression, so then he planned to kidnap and murder Bieber. Although, obviously, he
People like this really exist in real life, bro. That's crazy.
was still in jail, so he was just the mastermind. Intending to use the uncle and nephew duo throughout his plan, for some reason he needed them to kill 2 other people in Vermont. The entire scheme to kill a total of 4 people unraveled when the uncle and nephew missed their turn on a Vermont road and ended up heading toward the Canadian border. There, a US Border Patrol agent arrested the uncle because he was found to have an outstanding warrant for a felony parole violation out of New Mexico. The nephew was released, but then he spilled the beans about the murder plot when he called the inmate the same day. Prison guards recorded the call where he spoke in code, referring to the victims as dogs. Police said Mr. Martin confirmed that the dogs would be castrated too, and Mr. Ruan not only agreed, but stated he himself was the one who was going to do the castrating. You might be wondering, what does any of them have to gain from this? Well, apparently the nephew was promised $2,500 per testicle by the inmate, and as
Dude, come on, bro. You went a lot. That motherfucker is broke, is it? You really believe that shit, bro? Come on.
a result, the two faced 2 counts of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and 2 counts to commit aggravated battery. When asked how the inmate who the uncle met while in prison himself was able to convince him and his nephew to try and go through with the wild act, the uncle simply stated that the inmate was a very good manipulator and that he offered money as well as a Vermont farm in exchange for
this motherfucker is like no brain cells in that shit, bruh. Just some hollow in that shit. It's hollow out there, bruh. Like there's no way you that naive to get manipulated like this, bruh.
the completion of their request. In the end, all 3 were convicted for their wild plans, which were thankfully nipped in the butt before anything could even happen. But this is one of the stranger ones because the motive is ridiculous, and the whole guy being in prison and then asking the 2 people who have nothing to do with it to complete it for him, I don't know. One of the most ridiculous assassination attempts I've ever seen. And while luckily none of the suspects were ever able to get close to Justin, Lil Wayne had a much closer call. In 2015, Lil Wayne's career was marked by major legal battles, with Cash Money Records over his long-delayed album, The Carter 5. Around this time, he was also facing criticism for his sound on projects like No Ceilings 2. Overall, you could say it was a transitional, turbulent period, highlighting his strained relationship with Birdman and his label while he sought new ways to release music.
One of my favorite albums of all time, bruh. The Carter 3, boy. That shit is a classic.
This led to a lawsuit and the release of his independent FWA or Free Wheezy album through Tidal. But while there were tons of drama-filled headlines revolving around Wayne and his career, a major standout was
Why the motherfucker looks so depressed, yo, bruh? Why are you looking like that, bro?
Headlines revolving around Wayne and his career. A major standout was the assassination attempt. In April of 2015 at around 3:30 a.m., Wayne and his crew were riding around in their tour buses outside of Atlanta after finishing a show. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, 2 of the buses were shot up in a drive-by shortly after the police escort discontinued. Thankfully, no one was injured, but the buses were significantly damaged, with the bus driver saying, "They started at the back of the bus, they shot my engine, my radiator, and then just started shooting all down the side of the bus." Witnesses said they saw 2 vehicles flee the scene, and also that when the show ended, a group of people tried to confront Wayne and his crew at the venue. Since all of this Birdman stuff was going on, a lot of people assumed that was who was behind it. And about a month later, a man named Jimmy Carlton Winfrey, also known as Pee Wee Roscoe, who was Young Thug's former tour manager and an alleged gang member, was arrested. He was accused of firing multiple gunshots from a white Camaro at Wayne's tour buses and charged with aggravated assault, terroristic threats, criminal damage, possession of a firearm by a felon, and criminal gang activity. At the time, despite the label
they do everything at that motherfucker. What?
dispute, Birdman reportedly told TMZ in July that he was not involved in any way with the shooting. But as the case developed and indictments were released, both Birdman and Young Thug were named. Now, being mentioned doesn't always imply guilt. However, in this case, the indictment alleges that Young Thug made a threat against Lil Wayne, and tour bus shooting suspect Jimmy Winfrey carried out that threat. But there was never enough evidence to connect either Thug or Birdman to the shooting, since neither of them were ever charged with anything. Eventually, the bus driver later sued pretty much everyone involved, and it came out that cell phone records indicated Winfrey contacted Birdman and Thug before he fired shots. And according to court documents, Winfrey even claimed Birdman should be held liable as a party to the crime, as he believes it was the financial dispute between Wayne and Birdman that led to the shooting. Still though, even with this all going on, nothing ever happened to Birdman or Thug. Just Winfrey was sentenced to 10 years in prison, followed by 10 years on probation after reaching a deal in which he pled guilty to 6 gang-related charges, not the 30 counts which he initially was indicted for. And eventually, for a whole bunch of legal reasons, they overturned his conviction in 2018. So for a while, it seemed like no one was really going to be held accountable for the assassination attempt of
fucking legal system, fucking, it don't matter South Africa or fucking America or wherever, bro. That shit confused the fuck out of me,
Lil
bro.
Wayne. That was until the whole bus shooting affair was used as a major point of focus in the Young Thug Rico trial, which is a whole other can of worms. Because of all of this, many fans theorize that Thug put the hit out, but I think the most logical assumption was that Birdman was behind it, you know, allegedly of course, but that's what most people think. And while at least Lil Wayne's shooter was caught, the same can't be said for Rick Ross's. On Rick Ross's 37th birthday, around 5 a.m. he was leaving the dinner with his girl. Around this time, an unidentified gunman opened fire on his Rolls Royce as well as the restaurant where he had just been dining. Quick aside here, leaving dinner at 5 a.m. is crazy, but I guess to reach boss
I didn't even fucking, I was zoned out, bro. I didn't even realize he left dinner at 5 a.m. boy. That's fucking breakfast at that point, 6 a.m.
maybe you have to eat for a few extra hours. And while some reports say he was out clubbing before, to reach boss size, maybe you have to eat for a few extra hours. And while some reports say he was out clubbing before, it's still wild. But
nah, Matt's you wrong for that, boy.
Let's get back to the story. But regardless, let's get back to the story. Witnesses said they heard at least 10 rapid-fire shots from what seemed like a high-powered rifle, with some even specifically saying it was an AK-47 or pretty large rifle. It was definitely a rifle. Usually shootings like this use handguns, but I guess Ross is a pretty big guy, so maybe they figured rifles were needed.
Again, boy.
While the bullet spray missed the car, Rick crashed his vehicle into an apartment building as he tried to drive away. This is where some red flags started to get raised, as of course 50 Cent decided to jump in, pointing out, "Ha ha ha, fat boy hit the building? Lol, it looks staged to me. No holes in the car." Although, to be fair, there was clearly some witness statements that at least confirmed parts of the story, like gunshots being fired and bullet holes in the front of the restaurant. Allegedly, the shooter fled the scene before police arrived, and Ross spoke to investigators, which again was kind of a tough look on his gangster persona. But in a weird twist, rumors started.
Ross ain't got no fucking. You don't wanna get me started on fucking Rick Ross, except that who built his whole fucking life and career off a motherfucker who locked up and he stole his whole fucking life, bruh. That Rick Ross is not a rapper, except he's a voice actor. He's playing a role, except that it's not a fucking. He used to work at in the fucking prison, except as a parole officer or some shit. Come on, bruh. You should know this about Ross by now, bro.
Started circulating that the shooting must have been gang-related, specifically with the gangster disciples who Officer Ricky was apparently targeted by after using their signs, symbols, and logos without paying required fees. These claims were backed up even further by a bunch of threats towards Rick being posted by the gang throughout the months prior to the shooting, although authorities never were able to confirm a motive for the shooting, so no one really knows why. Soon after this, Rick decided to cancel his upcoming tour, claiming that his promoter was unorganized, but many fans speculated it was because of the shooting. If you remember, this wasn't the last time Ricky Rose almost got assassinated, as his plane was famously almost shot down during the Drake and Kendrick beef.
So, thank you everybody for all the prayers, but I'm gonna tell you, we on the jet and I'm seeing the fighter jet. I see his nose, it's like Tom Cruise from Top Gun. I seen his nose, I'm seeing him.
This motherfucker be funny sometimes though, but I'll give him that, bro.
And I'm like, damn, I see his cheeks and nose going back from the G-force. And then, hey man, it happened. You know what I'm saying? I can't say what happened, but it happened. Come on, white boy, BBL Drizzy, I know you got the ashtrays in the armrest.
It's ironic that this motherfucker beefing with Drake, bro. You know what I'm saying?
In that hindsight, that's really dope. Like, you know, some smoking shit, you know. But we safe, everybody.
So in the end, it's really hard to tell what is and what isn't true with Rick Ross, which has been quite the repeating trend throughout his career. And while most of these assassination attempts have been with bullets so far, this next person decided to use a bomb. Bjork is a very popular artist who is a little bit older, so you guys might not be as familiar with her, but she had one of the craziest assassination attempts on this list. In 1993, a man by the name of Ricardo Lopez became very obsessed with Bjork. He started stalking her and learning every little bit of information about
I never heard of her before, I won't lie, no disrespect.
her. Kind of like Stan with Eminem, he sent her a bunch of creepy letters and all that stuff. Then he started writing a diary talking about how bad he wanted Bjork
This motherfucker look lame as shit, boy, I won't lie to
to
you.
accept him and how he wanted to be in her life. According to Wikipedia, he fantasized about inventing a time machine to travel to the 1970s and befriending her as a child. His fantasies about Bjork were not sexual. In his diary, he wrote, "I couldn't have sex with Bjork because I love her." He had a diary that had over
Yeah, this motherfucker weirdo, bruh.
800 pages, where he was just going on and on about his thoughts of him and Bjork. Apparently, Ricardo felt inadequate because he was too fat, he had gyno, and he couldn't get a girlfriend. But I never tried to assassinate
I wonder why. I wonder why.
anyone, so I don't know why he felt special. But real funny joke. He was also an exterminator and had no bread, so he was really down bad. He talked about taking his own life 34 times in his diary and made 14 references to murder. He also referenced Bjork a total of 408 times and other celebrities 52 times. 3 years later, while continuing this behavior the whole time, Ricardo found out that Bjork was dating someone and obviously got very upset. In his diary, he said, "I wasted 8 months and she has a fucking lover." I'm sure you guys can see where this is going. Instead of writing his diary, he decided to start filming it. He recorded a total of 11 videotapes, with each of them being about 2 hours long. On these tapes, Ricardo
I thought there was a bug coming into my room. I was like, what
can
the
be seen
fuck?
preparing for his revenge, as he got progressively more and more upset throughout the tapes about Bjork's relationship, which eventually resulted in him deciding to kill her. At first, he thought about making a bomb full of HIV-tainted needles, but he wasn't smart enough to figure out how to
HIV tainted needles. Ain't no fucking way. I guarantee. Boy,
do that. So then he decided to make
how do you even come up with that in your head, in your mind, bruh?
a letter bomb, which had sulfuric acid inside of a book, so that when she opened the book, it would explode, which is honestly
The motherfucker got tits.
kind of clever for such a dummy. He sent her the letter and then planned to take his own life so that they could be together in heaven. On September 12th, 1996, Ricardo filmed his final video diary called Last Day, where he prepared his stuff for the post office. He then finished filming after dropping the letter off.
Oh fuck no.
He then said, "I'm definitely not drunk. I am completely not depressed. I know exactly what I am doing. The gun's cocked back. It's ready to roll." Then he shot himself, and eventually days later his body was found. Once his body was discovered along with the tapes, the police were able to piece everything together. Luckily, the letter hadn't made it to Bjork yet, and the police were able to contact the post office across the pond, and they sent a bomb squad to intercept it. The bomb was safely detonated and everything was cool. Ironically,
I didn't hear that part. There was a bomb. No, that motherfucker is sick in the mind, boy.
Bjork and her boyfriend broke up right before Ricardo took his life, and the bomb probably never would have made it to her anyways, since all of her mail was vetted by her team. Regardless, this is definitely one of the craziest attempts on this list.
So the members on the team would have just died, bro. Either way, it's fucking fucked up situation, you know what I'm saying?
If you like this video, you might like my video about music's most disturbing urban legends, as there are a
Nah, that last one was crazy, boy. Shout out to fucking Nasty C.
lot of very
What the fuck did I say Nasty C, bruh? Ain't nothing in this video had to do with Nasty C, but shout out to Matty Balls, bruh, for the video. Yeah, shout out to that.